Hi, my name is Chinedu, and welcome to another episode of Global Trade in Supply Chain. For the purpose of this episode, we'll be talking about supply chain as well as supply chain management. I hear questions as oh, am I in supply chain? How do I know I'm in supply chain? How do I know this? How do I know that? Don't worry, we're going to define this in a way that you'd understand what you're doing. Now, because what exactly is supply chain? And I like to say this that supply chain is just a global network used to deliver products and services from raw materials to end customers through an engineered flow of information, physical distribution, and cash. Whatever process you're operating in that involves all of this. Now, when we say engineered flow, it means this flow is tailor-made, meaning the way your business handles her supply chain may not be the way another business does, and that is very important to understand. You must understand what you do and how you do what you do. At the end of this session, you understand the three major pillars in supply chain. For you to call something a supply chain, what are the three major blocks? We're going to understand that at the end of this session. So, to reiterate again, a global network, when we say a global network, it comprises of several things. It doesn't necessarily have to be outside your region, but because we're looking at global trade, and that's why we're very keen on the global network, where there is a starting point, right, where the raw materials are gotten, and then there's the finish point where, or the end point where the customers are to make use of that item. So the engineered flow of information, the physical distribution, and cash is what come or what bring birth or what gives birth to supply chain. Now, what is supply chain management? The design, the planning, the execution, the control, monitoring of supply chain activities with the objective of creating net value, building a competitive infrastructure, leveraging worldwide logistics, synchronizing supply with demand, and measuring performance globally. That is what supply chain management involves. In simple terms, the coordinated effort involving when the orders are placed, before the orders are even placed, because there's a design process. There's a part where you plan for your supply chain. There's a part where you execute. There's a part where you must control and you must monitor your supply chain activities. Very important. And why are you doing all these things? I call them the five pillars: the design, planning, execution, control, and monitoring. Why are we doing all of these things? Because we want to create net value at the end, right? You want to build a competitive infrastructure that leverages, worldwide logistics, because logistics, of course, is a sub of supply chain. And now you want to bring the union between supply with demand. That's the synchronization of supply and demand. Very important. What am I ordering? What do I actually need? And then you measure your performance globally. Basically, this makes up supply chain management. And what are the basic pillars of supply chain management? Like I said earlier, there are four. There must be a supplier, there's a producer, and then there's a customer. Producer at the middle could be any of the manufacturing firm, as it were, because most times manufacturing companies are in the middle, although service companies can actually come here. But why does this tree make the foundational pillar of supply chain? Information flows from one end to another end, and also vice versa. So when you have a pillar of a supplier, a producer, and a customer, the primary flow of products moves from supplier down to the customer, right? That's the primary flow of product. Now, the primary flow of cash is the reverse. So cash flows from customer back to the supplier. And then also the reverse product flow goes from customer back to supplier. So if you have a distribution, if you have a chain that involves a supplier first, then a producer, and then a customer, you're actually in supply chain business. Welcome to that business. And I know with more episode, you come to understand how this flow affects what you do to make your chain a stronger one. Again, it's nice having you on this episode. Feel free to drop your questions, like, comment, and follow. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. See you in the next. Thank you.